Okay, so in the following, we will keep discussing the industrial structural change in technology upgrading. Okay, as I mentioned to you in the previous class, that the change of this industrialization in early stage, that's a rapid industrialization, and then in the later stage, especially during the late 70s and mid 80s, that's the mature stage of industrialization. Okay, and then after the 1986, then the industrialization process. Okay, the agricultural sector is declining, but however, after this post-industrialization process, then you can see that the service sector used to be pretty stable, and then in the mid 86, then in the 1986, then the service sector started to increase. And that is for the industry structure. Okay, and how about for the employment structure? This is for the employment structure. Okay, the share of employment in agriculture sector. Okay, showing the same, almost showing the same pattern. But however, in terms of employment share, it's higher than in terms of the GDP share. Okay, and for the service sector, okay, in terms of GDP share, it's close to 72%. But however, in terms of the employment share, it's less than 60. That's about 58%. So you can see that the pattern is relatively similar, but however, in terms of the share of employment, manufacturing sector or industry sector actually still occupies a large share of the employment. And the service sector actually has over 10 to 12 percentage point difference between the employment share and the GDP share. And employment share actually is lower than the GDP share. And this is the GDP per capita. GDP per capita, that's the labor intensity, labor productivity. Okay, you can see that the labor productivity by industry. Per capita by industry. Manufacturing sector, service sector, and agriculture sector. This is actually not GDP per output. Agriculture sector is the lowest. Okay, and the service sector is the income is higher than the manufacturing sector, and the manufacturing sector is about the same as the industry sectors. Okay, we will actually look at the labor productivity later. And here is regarding about the technology upgraded in manufacturing sector. This is heavy industries. This is so-called petrochemical and technology intensive industries. In terms of the output share, this is output share in manufacturing. You can see that over time, especially after 86, as I mentioned, after 86, the share of manufacturing actually is declining, right? But however, if you look at the heavy industry, its output share actually keeps reducing. Okay, from 67 to 80%. Okay. And also in terms of the export share in total manufacturing export, okay, the petrochemical technology intensive industry, the shares in 86 is about 54%, but the number also increased to upward, it's increasing. And in terms of petrochemical and technology-intensive industry, the share in export is also increasing. So you can see the changes, the declining in the share of industry actually within this manufacturing is becomes more and more technology intensive. Okay. And in terms of labor productivity, that also increased over time. Okay, in terms of labor productivity. Therefore, the technology upgraded in the manufacturing even after the post-industrialization period, or after the decline of the manufacturing share. If you look at the inside the manufacturing share actually it becomes more and more capital and technology intensive. Okay, and at the meantime, the labor productivity is increasing over time. Okay. And by looking at the change in the export, okay, then you can see this is for the labor intensive, capital intensive, and technology intensive. In terms of labor intensive, high labor intensive products of exports dropped from 47 to 28. Okay, and the capital intensive, high, especially the mid capital intensive, increased from 45 to 47, and the high from 26 to 43. So more towards high capital intensive. And also technology intensive, the high technology intensive from 18% to 53%. These are all after 80s. So even though the share of manufacturing is declining, but in terms of their exports, okay, they tend to be more capital intensive and more technology intensive. Okay, let's give you the number. And here is the change in the manufacturing structures by the two-digit industries. Sorry for the these are Chinese. Okay, and you can see these are textile and apparel industries. The share in the early 80s remained pretty high, together about 20% of the total manufacturing. Okay, in the early 80s. Okay, but that number you can see declined over time for this textile and apparel industries. However, this is the transportation critical increase to 10% and then decline in the early 80s, early 90s. And after the year 2000, you can see this. This is the electronic components. The electronic components has a great increase, especially after year 2000. Okay, from in the early period, less than just about less than 2%, then it increased to 23%. So a huge increase in the electronic parts and components. Okay, and here you can see this increase in this particular electronic component industry, manufacturing industry. And that has something to do with the investment in China. Okay? Because investment in China triggers the import of parts and materials from Taiwan due to the so-called vertical integration. Okay, so you can see this huge increase in electronic components. Okay, and this happens to be also the largest foreign direct investment in China. And that is the change inside the manufacturing. Okay, so you can see that earlier in the 80s, the textile and apparel industries still consist of about 20%, and that number actually that number actually dropped to here, just about 3%. Used to be 20% for these two industries, and now dropped to less than 3%. Okay, and for these electronic components, this is computer and communication. This is computer and communication. Okay, this is electronic machinery. Okay, and this is also increased. Computer and electronic and communication equipment increased from 2% to 9%. Okay, that's also computer. And these three is so-called ICT industry. Okay, computer and communication electronic products. This is electrical components. Okay, and here this one is the electric machinery. Okay, these three is ICT industry. So if you combine these together, okay, 23 plus 9 plus 3, so that total will be somewhere around close to 40%. So ITC industry is now about 40% of the total manufacturing industry. So even the share of the industry declined over time after mid-80s, but within the industry, the so-called ICT-related industries is the major industry or the leading industry in the manufacturing sectors. So that is why it becomes more capital and labor intensive. Okay, and later you will see that this so-called ICT industry happen to be the industry that invests more in China than others. And how about the service sectors? The change in the structure of service sector, especially after the 80s. Okay, after the 80s, you can see that this is the financial and real insurance, financial and real estate insurance. Okay, is the large sector, just about 20% of the total service sector. Okay, and of course, the largest sector will be wholesale and retailer. Okay, wholesale and retailer. Okay, that's the structures of this wholesale and retailers. Okay, about 30%, about 1/3 of the service sectors are wholesale and retailer sectors. So you can see a lot of workers work in retail and wholesale services, or 1/3. Okay, and another important one is the 20% of the workers work in financial insurance. Okay. But however, you can see also important increasing share, but still remain small. Is this is professional and scientific education service. Okay, this is professional and scientific service. This education service. This one is the healthcare service. Okay. And here is the culture and recreation and sports and recreation service. Okay, so you can see that the recreation sector still remains less than 3%. And you can see the increasing share of these so-called modern service sectors, professional, scientific management, and also educational service, healthcare services. Okay, and this one about 15% together. For these three. Okay. It's increasing, but however remains a small share compared to the traditional service sector, like wholesale and retail service. That's the structure of the service sector in Taiwan. Okay. That's the structure in terms of their value added, in terms of their GDP. Okay, and in terms of employment share in manufacturing, okay, in terms of manufacturing share, you can see here electronic and electric industries. Okay, this is the ITC industry. The three industries together. Okay, about 40%. Here, about 30% in terms of employment share still remain a large share. So a large group of people work in the IPC related industries. And the other one is the metal products. Metal products, about 13% work in the metal product. And the metal product is very important for the parts and components industries. Okay, the basic manufacturing industry, metal products industries. These are the two largest group of the employment with the employment share. And as for the service sectors in their employment share, again, largest group in the retail and wholesale, about 30%, right? Work in the retail industry. Okay. But however, if you look at the growth rate, then the largest growth rate here is in the so-called technical, professional and technical service, about 4%. The largest growth. Okay, the largest growth is in the technical and professional services, and that is so-called modern services. Okay, but however, the share is not large here, just only about 5% or 5 to 6%. Okay, and it's comparable to the finance and insurance sector. Okay, here about 10%, less than 10% from educational sector, but the growth rate is pretty stable. Growth rate is stable. And another one is this healthcare services. Okay, also has a large growth in the employment share, close to 3%. Okay, and again, it's about roughly 5 to 6% of employment share. So you can see that the largest growth in these professional technical services and the health and the social services, healthcare and social services. Okay, has the largest increase. Okay, has the largest increase, implying that this is the future service sector that we should emphasize. Okay, but in terms of their size, okay, still remains small, somewhere around 6%. So together, just about 12%. Okay, these two together, about 12%. So to develop the professional technical services and the healthcare industry seems to be the two promising industries for the future development of the service sector. Okay, and of course another one here remains pretty stable, but has a potential to improve is the education sector. Okay, and the other one is the so-called culture and recreation sector. Okay, that's only 3%. Okay, that's the service sector. Okay, and in terms of productivity, if we look at the growth rate of the productivity the productivity growth by industries, then you can see that the growth rate here is for the whole industry. Okay, the whole industry. And you can see that roughly around 5%. Okay, roughly around 5%. But after the year 2000, you can see the slowdown of the whole of productivity. Slowdown of productivity, labor productivity for the whole industry. And if you look at the slowdown of the whole industry, then you can see that actually manufacturing actually has a growth rate of 3.2%. Okay, actually above the average. And the problem again here is the growth rate of the service sector. Okay, the productivity growth rate is only 1%. So you can see that the slowdown of the productivity by sectors, you can see the largest slowdown is in the service sectors. Okay, so it means that since the year 2000, okay, the productivity, the labor productivity growth seems to be slowed down in service sectors. Okay, so service sector is the key sector that generate this slowdown in the productivity. Okay, not the manufacturing. Actually, manufacturing is also slowed down compared to the early period. Okay, but the slowdown is more severe in the service sector. Okay, so apparently, service sector has a low productivity growth, and that's the problem for Taiwan's economy. And here is the productivity change within the manufacturing. Within the manufacturing. And again, you can see that this is the three sub-industry for the ICT related industry. Okay, they all have positive growth rate. Okay, the average about 3.5. And then you have some industry, textile, negative. Apparel, negative growth rate. Okay, and this is the agriculture, furniture, manufacturing. Okay. And here is the precision. So you can see that a great improvement in the productivity. First one is the precision and optical industry. And second one is again here, electronic components industry. Okay. Okay, and then the computers, communication, okay, and the machinery. Okay, so these either ICT or precision industry, which actually has a great improvement in the technology, in the productivity. So I use a simple calculations for the change in the productivity. Okay, for the change in productivity by looking at two periods. One before, one is in the 80s, and one is in the 90s, and one is after year 2000. Okay, and here is the growth rate of the labor productivity. The first column is growth rate of labor productivity, and the second one is the growth rate of unit labor cost. Growth rate of unit labor cost. Okay, and I define the competitiveness of the industry by subtracting the unit labor cost, the growth of unit labor cost by the growth of labor productivity. So I will get a number which is the growth of labor productivity minus the growth of unit labor cost as a measure for the change in competitiveness. Okay, and then I get a number for this competitiveness measure, and then I rate it, make a rank. So in the 80s, it's pretty clear for the manufacturing sectors. Number one, rank number one by the electric machinery. Okay, and here is electronic components, and here is computer and telecommunication. So this green is so-called ICT index. And the one is number one, and the other computer is number 4, and actually electronic components close to the end about the 8th grade. Okay, here is the number, okay, of the ranking. And I do the same thing for the 90s. Growth of labor productivity doing labor cost, and then the measure for competitiveness. And I take a number, and then make the ranking. Again, you see the big difference. Now, this ICT industry, as the first and second and third all fall into the ICT related industry. Okay, this electric machinery used to be number one, now becomes number two, but however, this computer and telecommunication becomes number one in 90s in terms of their competitiveness. Okay, and electronic components becomes number two. Okay, so you can see the evolution, the change of the competitiveness of industry from 80s to 90s. Okay? And then I look at, if I minus this change in ranking, then I get the change in ranking. Okay? So if you have a positive number, this is the improvement in the ratings. Okay, for example, if from 8 to 3, then you move 5 level up. Okay? So the great improvement is in here. Electronic components. And the computer telecommunication is third one. Okay? Another great improvement is in here is the precision equipment. Okay. These are the largest, these two are the largest industries in the manufacturing sector. And they also have the highest improvement in their productivity or competitiveness. Okay, and I can also do the same thing for year after 2000, from 2001 to 2005. And then I do the ranking again. And then you will find that precision industry becomes number one. Okay? And components, electronic components, remains number two. Okay. And the other two drop to 4 and 6. So you can see that a majority great improvement in the in ICT related industries. In here, still not too bad, especially for the electric components. Okay, which tend to be remain in a very competitive status. Okay, and the computer and the electronic machinery, their competitiveness still remain pretty high in terms of their ranking. But however, the ranking is deteriorating. Okay, the ranking was actually deteriorating for these two industries. Okay, so let's give us use this quantitative analysis to see over time what the change of the competitiveness, and then you will be able to understand what industry actually remain competitive over time. And as you can see from these calculations, that ICT and precision industry seems to be the industry that has the great improvements in their competitiveness or productivity. Okay? Any questions? So industries like computers and information industry, which have large amount of FDI in China, and you will see later, okay, they tend to have higher productivity. The higher productivity in Taiwan happen to be the industries with the higher productivity in Taiwan happen to be the industry invest a lot in China. The advantage of international division of labor brings technology upgrading of domestic high-tech industries. So this is mainly due to the international division of labors across the strait, which actually brings technology upgrading of domestic high-tech industries. Okay, because we can actually promote this kind of vertical integrations, which helps the technology upgrading of Chinese ICT-related industry, high-tech industries. Okay, here, if you look at here, you can see the co-movement of the two time series. One is the technology, that is the electronics and electric manufacturing. That's the this one. Okay? Electronic and electric manufacturing industry keep increasing. Okay, of these industries. And the pro line, okay, is the here the red line is the electric and electronic industries investment in China. Okay. So the greater the investment of the electronic and electric industry invest in China, the greater their export. This is the export of electronic products. The greater of their exports. Okay? So it actually implies that the more these electronic products, manufacturing industry invest in China, actually it triggers the trade to have export more to China. And of course, this explains this kind of vertical integration. Vertical integration in the way that by manufacturing in China, investment of manufacturing in China with this ICT related product, then it triggers the export of Taiwan's parts, especially the parts and components, export to China and to do the manufacturing in China. Okay, so the more it invests in China, actually it generates the flow of trade to China, increase the export of trade to China. So it's a kind of investment in export nexus. And these slides give you another movement, an even closer relationship between the investment share in China and the total manufacturing productivity relative to service sector. The red line is the labor productivity of the manufacturing. And the blue line is the share of investment in China. Foreign investment in China. So you can see that there is a close relationship and there's a positive relationship. Which means that the more we invest in China, or foreign direct investment, actually brings the improvement of the labor productivity in manufacturing. Okay? So based on this analysis, actually it helps to explain investment, foreign direct investment in China actually helps the improvement of technology and also export of those products in China. So the more we invest in China, at least in the 80s and in the 90s, help to increase the division of labors and therefore the labor productivity of the manufacturing and also the export of the manufacturing sector, especially the electronic products. And how about that's the analysis for the productivity change in the manufacturing sector. And here is the productivity analysis for the service sectors. We do the same thing. Okay, for the competitiveness of the service sectors. Okay, due to the data that I get, so I only have the year after 99. So then you calculate this. Then we see that the growth of the labor productivity, the growth of unit cost, the competitiveness measure, and then the rating. And then you can see the rate. Number one is the transportation and storage and the communication and telecommunication sector. This has the greatest competitiveness. The rate is number one. And the second one is the wholesale and the retail trade. Okay. And then real estate and the leasing. Okay. And as for the two that we mentioned, very important one, professional and scientific and the technical services. Also the health and the medical care services. They are actually at the bottom part of the range. Okay, so that implies that for these new and modern service sectors, their ranking in terms of their productivity is relatively low in Taiwan. And that's the problem. Okay? That's the major problem. Because this is the new emerging, so-called emerging modern service sectors. Okay? Now our service sector already occupies 72% of the total GDP. Okay? But however, the so-called modern service sector remain at a low productivity level. Okay, and in terms of their competitiveness, they are actually at the bottom of the ranking. And that's the problem. That's the major problem. Okay, so the problem is not the manufacturing sector. The problem is not our investment in China. It is pretty clear from above analysis. Okay. Actually, the problem here seems to emphasize that we have a relatively slow and low productivities in this modern service sector, and we have a lot of room to improve upon these sectors. And that's the sector we should focus on if we want to have a greater improvement in our economic performance.
Looking at things like the financing slide there again, could actual foreign FDI from other countries in Taiwan actually influence this? Because a lot of those actually have foreign companies working in those industries.
In which one? In financial industry?
Financial industry.
Not really. Okay. Actually, Taiwan's financial industry is not as modern as you perceive. If you went to other countries, you can see that Taiwan's financial service sectors actually still remain at very labor intensive.
Right, but I mean, in Taiwan we have a lot of foreign banking.
Yeah, but they are restricted for some business only. Okay, they cannot operate as a local bank. Okay. So you can see that a lot of these kind of, for example, corporate lendings, and also these some of these major activities performed by the domestic firms, foreign firms, only limited to certain service only. Okay, and as you can see that. Nowadays, you have to go to the bank to do certain transactions. And it's very costly. And the transaction cost is very high. Okay. And here, just make a comparison. Although it may not be fair to compare it, but however, it can give us some sense regarding about how the service sector, structure of the service sector in advanced countries compared with what we have in Taiwan. Or, for example, here is the service sector, the structure of service sector in the United States. Okay? From 80s, from the 81 to year 2005. And then you can see that. Okay, you can see this. In terms of so-called traditional service sector, wholesale and retailer, okay, together, okay, of their share, together about 23%. Okay, pretty constant, right? If you add these two together, roughly constant around 24%. Okay, about a quarter of this. But that number in the United States, roughly about 20% in 81. Okay, but that number declined to about 16% in terms of retailer, in terms of wholesale. Okay, so here it remains 23, and here actually dropped to here just about 20, but so it's not a big difference. It's a difference, but however, it is 80, but it's a huge difference. Okay, in the year 2005. Okay, so the major question is that these traditional sectors remain pretty stable in Taiwan, but the shares in the United States actually is declining over time. And the other one, the important one is here, financial insurance. Okay, financial insurance about 7%, now increased to 11% in the United States. And in Taiwan, the number is 11%, and now increased to 15%. Okay, so both numbers are increasing, but the Taiwan's financial sector actually has a larger share than the financial sectors in the United States. Okay. And in terms of the another one is the transportation and storage. Here about 10%, pretty stable, right? 10%. But for the United States, actually, it's declining significantly, from 5.2 to 3.8%. But in Taiwan, it remains pretty stable. And here, you can see the difference. Here, for the modern service sector, okay, so you can see from the United States case, you can see the declining share of the traditional service sector. How about the modern service sector, for example, professional and technical service, education, medical care, recreation and culture and recreation sector? You can see this professional service sector from 5.5 to 9.1%. Education from less than 1% to 1.19, not a big difference, not a big difference. But however, here, the medical care from 6.7% to 9.11%. But if you compare this number with the Taiwan, then you can see that medical sector is increasing over time, but it remains small, okay? From 1.8 to about 4%. Okay, so it's almost double, more than double, about double the size, okay? But this remains small, only 4%, compared with what in the United States is 9%. And professional and technical service from 2% to 3.1%, or 3.2%. But in the United States, 5.5 to 9%. Okay, so you can see this big difference. And education, the only one that we can see is the education sector is increasing in the United States, but only about 1%, a little bit over 1%. However, in Taiwan, from 1.56 to 2.5%, about 1 percentage point increase. Okay, so you can see from here that medical and professional services, these two service industry, you can see that the traditional service sector remain pretty stable without any improvement. And the modern service sector is increasing their share, but however remain a small share. Compared with the United States, actually the traditional service sector is declining. At the same time, the modern service sector is increasing. So it means that we still have a great, we need to have a restructuring of the service sector seems to be a very important and crucial step for us to develop our economy. To try to restructure the service sector to reduce the share of the service sector of the traditional sector and increasing the share of the manufacturing sector of the modern service sectors. This is for the from their output share. If you look at the employment share, this is the employment share, then you can see even a huge difference. Even huge difference. Okay? You can see in terms of the employment share, wholesale industry occupies 47% of the employment share. So about close to 50%, okay, 47%, and remain pretty stable and even a little bit increased. Okay, a lot of employment workers work in wholesale and manufacturing and service and retail service. And compare with that in the United States, especially dropped from 22 to 18. It's not only smaller in size, but also declining over time. And here is relatively stable and occupied last year. So you can see that that makes a major difference. Okay, even though the service sector, we have over 70% of our GDP produced by service sector, just like in the rest country. In the United States, about 70% workers of output produced in the service sector. But if you look at the inside the sector, you can see a major difference. Okay, and for the financial sector, you can see the number of financial sectors. Now we have a larger share, about double the size of the employment share. Okay, and for this technical and medical education, now it's to about 12%. And here you can see the technical service sector to 15%, and education and the medical care another 15%. So these two together 30%. And here together just about 13 to 40%. And one is 13 and one is 13%. So you can see huge difference. And also a lot of employment in agriculture and recreation services, over 10%. And here only 2%, and actually it's declining. So you can see much more clear from the employment share that we have too many workers work in traditional sectors, service sectors, and only a small group of people work in the modern sectors. Okay, and that compared to, for example, typical one is in the United States. So you can see this is give you two extreme cases. Even though the share of the service sector all roughly about the same, 30%, 70%, but however, within the structure of the service sector in terms of employment or in terms of output, they make a great difference. And the major difference is that Taiwan has a lot of workers and activity being engaged in the so-called traditional services sectors. Okay, and a large room to improve on the modern service sectors. Oops. See? We already have this comparison, okay. This is in terms of the output. Okay. Oh, okay. This is the English version. Previous one is Chinese version. Okay. So the difference in the structure of service sector between Taiwan and the United States, you can see this. I won't go through all these detailed numbers, but the major idea is what I just explained to you regarding about the employment share and the output share. And the major difference, if you classify into two, one is traditional service sectors and the other is modern service sector, and then you can see the major difference between these two countries. And this is the employment structures. Okay. Okay. So from here, Taiwan service sector, okay, concentrate on the more traditional service industries, okay. So it is necessary to transform these industries to more critical intensive production. Okay, and the financial sector in Taiwan is more labor intensive. Okay, low value added and less efficient production. Okay, on the contrary, professional, scientific, and technical services and medical care and social welfare services today are grown tremendously. Okay, but these two industries can create lots of job opportunities as Taiwan's economy changes towards service-oriented society. Okay, so these professional, scientific, and medical care, these industries has a great improvement to be done. Okay, and that the development of these two sectors actually can provide a lot of job opportunities. Okay. And here, especially emphasize that in order to enhance the quality, value-added production efficiency of the two services, then we widely apply information communication technology. That is the strength of Taiwanese economy. We widely apply this ICT technology to this modern service sector to be an effective way to improve Taiwan's economy. Okay, if we want to improve upon this modern service sector, we should be more capital intensive and also apply this ICT technology to this modern service sector. Okay, modern service sector actually apply a lot of ICT technology. So if we can make a quick use of this ICT technology, actually it will help these modern service sectors. Okay? Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Professor, on your employment thing, if we had like our FDI looking for now the skilled labor force really like ICT industry, doesn't that reduce the incentives to look for unskilled and employ the unskilled labor force?
What?
So in return, could like foreign direct investment actually be a part of increase of unemployment as well as employing people? Doesn't it also affect the employment rate, like the more unemployed, unskilled workers, because now FDI will look for these skilled services?
Yeah, but today, okay, the problem in Taiwan is not the unemployment of the unskilled labor. Now today we you find that the unemployment rate of the skilled labor, more educated worker, actually suffered recently. Okay, for the recent years, actually the unemployment rate for the skilled and more educated worker actually suffered most.
Is that because the large number of the same people, the same skilled people?
And high skilled people.
Yeah, so if we take the high skilled.
And here actually generate a lot of rooms for these high skilled labor towards these modern service sectors.
So the unemployment in Taiwan are the skilled labor. But is that due that because
recently, okay, recently, yeah.
Too many people have the same qualifications?
You can say maybe due to too many people have the same quality, or you may say that the demand is not enough for those high educated workers.
Because what I'm trying to understand, is there a connection between unemployment and...
Of course, the supply, we have more supply because due to the new establishment of the so-called universities. So number of universities increased. Now is about 162 universities, colleges and universities. Okay, it used to be less than 100. Okay, now it's 162. So of course that generates a huge supply of graduates, undergraduates. Okay, so that's the supply side. Okay, that explains why maybe that you increase the supply of the college graduates. Therefore, the unemployment rate increase, right? And the other thing is supply side, okay? And the other thing is that on the demand side, maybe it's not many due to you generate not enough demand for the college graduates, okay? So you have an increase in supply, but if you also have an increase in demand, then demand meets supply. Then of course, then it may not be an increase in the unemployment rate. Right? Okay, and here I'm talking about the demand side here, right? By shifting the structure from the modern service sector to the from a traditional service sector to modern service sector, actually provides a lot of job opportunity for the more educated and skilled labor because modern service sector require high skilled workers than the traditional service sector. Actually, there are two ways. One is that to shift from traditional to modern service sector, okay? And the other way is to upgrade the traditional service sector. How to upgrade is to use more capital-intensive production process. For example, I mentioned about this regarding about financial sector. It's too labor-intensive in financial sectors. Okay, we have over 15% of employment share compared to only 7% in United States. We need to use a lot of electronic equipment. For example, we need to use this e-commerce, okay, to reduce these labor-intensive structures, oriented structures of the financial sectors. And also, this retail and service sector, retail and wholesale sectors, too labor-intensive. 47% of workers work in that particular traditional wholesale and retailer service. It's just too labor intensive. Okay, and that reduces the productivity. And you have to shift that to upgrade the traditional service sector, and at the same time shift resources towards more modern service sector. These two dimensions, okay, it's important for the restructuring of the service sector. And I believe that creates more job opportunity for highly skilled workers. And that new demand will be able to meet the increase in the supply of college graduates. Okay? Okay? Yes?
What do you think is possible that the service industries in Taiwan, also with China, border issues, they will go to China. They will show what type of impact they will take to work with Taiwan?
Depends, okay? Not all service sector, because service sector is they are more non-traded oriented than the manufacturing sector. You can ship a lot of manufacturing goods abroad, but not services. Okay, service sector usually is more localized. More localized. For example, medical care. You have to go here to have medical service, okay? Because hospitals here, okay? And also you have the tourism, okay? You have to go to Taiwan to visit Taiwan to see the beauty of Taiwan. These are non-traded goods, okay? You cannot ship Taiwan to abroad. You cannot ship the Torogo Gorge to mainland China. It's not possible. Okay, so they are in their characteristics. They are more towards non-traded oriented than the manufacturing goods. Okay, And especially when we talk about this so-called culture, creative culture service industries. Okay, they are also localized. You have to combine culture, tourist sightseeing, and agriculture together to develop the so-called creative social creative service. Okay, so they are not so-called non-traded oriented. Yes. Yeah. And the major reason for them to do business is to service Chinese firms in China. Okay. Not Chinese people, mainly for the Chinese firms. Because Chinese firms, actually, they require more investment. And sometimes in China, they have difficulty to find lending from the local Chinese firm, Chinese bank. Okay, so the major reason for the Chinese firms invest in China is to serve Chinese firms in China. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that for this kind of services, it is not a zero-sum game, you know. You can still develop here. Taiwan still have a strong needs for these services. Okay, you can still develop the services in here, but at the same time develop the services to serve the huge service in there. At the same time, it's not a zero-sum game. You have to move to there and leave nothing here. Okay, you can still develop both at the same time for service sectors. Okay, it's quite different because you have to serve the people localized. The localized, there is this kind of localized characteristics for this kind of service. Not like a manufacturing. You can ship the whole manufacturing abroad and leave nothing here, but not service sectors. Okay. Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, you want to take another short break or keep going? Huh? Okay, let's take a short break. And in the following, I will discuss about this industrialization and hauling out. Actually, we already have some idea earlier, so it's easy to look at this this kind of argument later. Okay, let's take a short break. Here is very important. One thing that I just attending a meeting from the Council of Economic Planning Department, reviewing the project. And the important projects is trying to figure out why the value-added rate is declining and relatively low value added, and also declining trends declining for the manufacturing sector. And it's high, but statement or stable for service sector. This value-added rate dropped from 30% to currently about 20% value-added rate. And for the service sectors, remains 60 to 70%. Pretty high, right? But if you look at the productivity, as we mentioned here earlier, productivity, this is the ICT industry's productivity. Okay? Productivity seems increasing, but the ICT industry has the highest productivity growth. And here is the total manufacturing sector. And service sectors, you can see, remain at a very low productivity. So in terms of productivity, it's pretty clear. ICT industry is the highest productivity. And it's also steeper in this class. The growth rate. Its growth rate is larger, greater. Okay. And for the manufacturing and service sector, manufacturing has a higher productivity than service sector. But however, the problem in here is manufacturing sectors have a low productive and low value-added rate. Low value-added rate and also a declining trend. That's the problem. And how about service sectors? High value-added, it's not bad. Service sector actually have a high value-added than manufacturing sector. And remain stable at 60 and 70. So if you look at value-added, it seems that the service sector is better than manufacturing sector. What's the problem here? Is this right? This seems to be right because this is the data that we collected. So they have a project on this to try to identify this trend and to see what's the major problem due to this. And so my question here is try to, from our earlier discussion, can we answer this type of question? Actually, it provides some hints for us. Okay, of course, you require further investigation, but in itself, you should think something that actually already give you approximately a right answer for that. Okay, here is the productivity. And if you look at the value-added rate, okay, here is the problem in here. Okay, value-added rate is low and declining for the manufacturing sector. Okay, possible explanation. Here is the value-added rate, right? Value-added divided by the total output. Okay, value-added is the output divided minus intermediate inputs. Okay, then you get the value-added. Okay, this is the value-added. And then it actually can also divide into three components. Right? You cancel this out, then you back to this one, right? So you can actually decompose this into three components. What is this one? This is the labor productivity, right? Labor, per unit of labor, variable. Okay, so it's a kind of labor productivity. Okay, and here you change this into from numerator to a denominator. Then actually it's a capital labor ratio, right? Oh, sorry, this is capital labor ratio, not output ratio. Capital labor, okay? Capital labor ratio, okay? And this part is actually capital output ratio, right? Right? So labor productivity multiplied by capital output ratio divided by capital labor ratio. Okay? Now, for the manufacturing sectors, the declining and the low value-added rate, this one, the right-hand side, small and declining. Right? But if you look at the right-hand side, the first one, the manufacturing sector is actually increasing in a high labor productivity. Right? For the manufacturing sector that we have. Right? For the service sector, actually, this one is low, and actually, starting to find that increase by is low. This labor productivity is small for this manufacturing sector. But however, in terms of value added, it's just the opposite, right? In terms of value added, actually, it's opposite to their labor productivity, right? So what's the problem? It must be due to this two. And the problem is clear. Here, what's the problem in the manufacturing sector? The value-added rate, low value-added rate, is because of this actually is pretty constant. If you look at capital output ratio, usually it's pretty constant. It's somewhere around 3. $1 of output is
in this $3 okay. And that's roughly, in people study, this term is pretty constant. Actually, sometimes during these fluctuations will increase if you invest more capital. So the problem in here is that for the manufacturing sector, it is due to high capital output ratio, together, especially together with high capital output and labor ratio. If you divide this term, capital labor ratio, the capital labor ratio increase over time, which outweighs the increase in the labor productivity, you actually end up with low value added rate. So that means that suggests that the low value added and the declining trend of this value added rate in the manufacturing sector implies over investment in capital, in the manufacturing sector. Over investment, capital, which means that we put too many resources for investment in manufacturing. And that's always the increase in labor. If we have this time increase, and this time also increase. Okay, this one has relatively stable, and this increase is measured this here. It's capital labor ratio. It's too capital intensive in a way of the manufacturing sector. This to the low value added. How about the service sector? Just the opposite. Too labor intensive. This is small. Too labor intensive in the service sector, which actually leads to high value added. High value added in service sector. So don't look at here. Okay, look at here. You are looking at a combination of effects. These three terms, especially these two terms. Okay, if you do not decompose these into three, then it confuses you. How come manufacturing sector is so productive in terms of labor productivity, but however their value added rate is low? And on the contrary, service sector has a low labor productivity, but however with a relatively stable and constant high value added rate. Okay? And the major problem is that we put too much investment, over-invest in tech, in manufacturing sector, and too labor intensive in the service sector. And that is consistent with our productivity analysis and also with our structural analysis. Too labor intensive in our service sector. We have to improve upon our service sector to be more capital intensive and apply ICT industry, ICT technology in that particular service sector, modern service sector. Okay, and we should shift away from capital investment in manufacturing sector. Because we over-invest in manufacturing, and that's the typical problem in Asian economy, especially newly industrialized Asian economy. Over-investment in this sector. Okay, so actually, I believe that's the major reason for this. Okay? Okay, is that clear? High productivity in manufacturing, but low value added in manufacturing. What's the problem? Low productivity in service sector, but high value added. And what's the problem? And the answer is just the other wrong. One is too manufacturing in the manufacturing sector, and the other one is that to labor service sector. Okay? So usually this kind of decomposition is very important to understand. Okay. Industrialization and foreign out. The condition for foreign out, usually you can see that
The decline in the share of manufacturing sector, that's the one condition, but not enough to explain. Decline in the share of manufacturing sector can be only a deindustrialization process, not the hollowing out, right? Deindustrialization is this one, okay? And increasing unemployment rate. If you have a declining share of manufacturing and also increasing unemployment rate, that's the second condition. And third condition, you have more outward foreign investment than inward foreign investment. You flow out more investment than flow in. That's the third condition. And the fourth condition, the decline in labor productivity and international competitiveness in that particular sectors. Okay? And necessary condition is you have 1 and 3 is the necessary. You have decline in service sector, and then you have more outward foreign investment than inward. That's necessary, but not sufficient. Okay? And sufficient conditions is to have 2 and 4. That's sufficient. So if you have 2 and 4 together, then it's sufficient to say that it's a hollowing out. But if you have 1 and 3, then it's a necessary but not sufficient condition. Okay? Okay. So it tells you this condition for hollowing out. Then let's look at Taiwan data. Here, the decline of the industry sector for the OECD, the advanced countries, since 1960s, they decline. That's the industrialization process. And how about Asian economy? This is Asian economy. This is for Korea, Taiwan, Singapore. Okay? Here, Taiwan, Singapore, and Japan. And Japan started to reach this peak, and then start to decline, or moderate, right? And for the Asian economy, it started increasing here, and then decline again, right? So they all experience the same pattern, one after the other. And the best country first, because they are more developed. And then Japan later. Here, okay? And the next country is the 60s. Japan is 70s. Okay? And Taiwan, Korea, and the Asian tigers in the late 80s or the early 90s. Okay? So you can see these all follow the same pattern. But one thing that different is that they decline, right? And the peak is here, right? And for Singapore, for Korea, and especially for Taiwan, actually the share of industry is higher at their peak compared to the peak of the advanced countries. And the major reason for this is because Asian economy usually adopt this kind of open trade policy. And this open trade policy focuses on manufacturing sector. Therefore, manufacturing sector used to have high share. But even that's the case, then it's still confined and subject to the industrialization process. Okay, so it is clear the first condition is always because the industrialization process also share the same kind of phenomenon as following up for the first one condition. Okay, so this is the industrialization is clear, but whether it's hollowing out, we have to look closer. How about the unemployment rate? Unemployment rate, here is the share of manufacturing actually started to decline in the mid-80s, right? It already started to decline, right? But the unemployment rate, not until mid-90s, started to increase. Before mid-90s, actually, unemployment rate dropped, declined, especially for this period. The declining of manufacturing, actually, the declining in unemployment rate at the same time. Right? So at least before 1990s, okay, and after mid-80s, this industrialization is decline in unemployment rate. The following up, necessary condition 1 and 3 does not happen at the same time because unemployment rate declines So the only case here we can explain is that you have a drop in the industrialization. So, and after mid 90s, then you also have the increase in unemployment rate. Okay, you also have the increase in unemployment rate after mid 90s. Okay, so the first one is that before mid 90s, there's no completely, it's pretty sure that in this part there's no, it's only pure deindustrialization. Okay, it's not falling out. But here, 1 and 3 conditions meet. Okay, you have decline in manufacturing share together with increase in unemployment rate. Okay, but it's only a necessary, but it's not enough to explain the. We need to further extend this. And this is and okay, here tell you that in why in the mid 1990s, okay, that the industrialization, okay, is mainly due to moving out of the traditional sectors from Taiwan. It is because the appreciation in mid 20s, the appreciation of NT dollars, okay, the increase in labor costs, the implementation of labor standard law, the environmental protection movement. Okay, these all leads to the moving out of the traditional sectors, the increase of the outward foreign direct investment from Taiwan to Southeast Asia, and then after 90s from Southeast Asia to China. Okay, so this triggers the industrialization process. Okay, and from the electronic and electric appliances, just about 30% of the investment is in China. Okay, in China, it's increasing. Okay, now it's up about 70% of Taiwan's total foreign direct investment is in China today. Okay, about 70%. Okay, and this is accumulated. And among these foreign direct investment, about 1/3, about 30%, invest in so-called IT industries, the electronic and electric appliances. Okay, and here is the total. This is the total, and in the blue column is the investment in electronic sector. So you can see the increasing trend in investment in electronic sectors. Okay, and here is also by looking at electronic machinery and equipment, increasing share in investment in China. Okay. So does FDI cost domestic investment? First one is that, does FDI cost domestic unemployment? Before, as we mentioned, before the mid-90s, actually, the unemployment is declined, okay? But after the mid-90s, okay, the share of manufacturing keep increasing. Okay, but unemployment rate also started to rise. Okay, and in the year 2000, after the year 2001, and we can see that the manufacturing sector is still declining, and unemployment rate actually remained at high level. Okay, but if you look at the employment rate of manufacturing sector, and you can see this is Taiwan. For the after mid-90s, you can see that manufacturing sector actually still, except for these 2 years, actually Taiwan's manufacturing sector actually has a better performance than majority of countries. Okay, for example, here with the negative 2.6, but here in Singapore 11, negative 11, Hong Kong negative 10%. Okay, the employment what I want to say is that compared to other countries, Taiwan's manufacturing sector actually has a better growth rate in the employment rate, which means that the manufacturing sector actually provides sufficient job opportunity to many other economies by generating this high employment rate, which means high employment rate in the manufacturing sector. So the high unemployment rate in China, in Taiwan, is not caused by the decline of manufacturing or rise of FDI. Okay, it's not the cause. Okay, it is the structural change towards service-oriented economy, and the service sector does not create enough new job opportunity. As the Taiwan shifts towards more service-oriented, but service-oriented economy does not provide enough job opportunities. Okay, which result in high unemployment rate for the whole economy. Okay, and in the long run, the development of service sector from traditional one to more modern ones is the only means to reduce the unemployment rate in Taiwan. Okay, because the manufacturing sector still have a capacity to absorb a relative amount of employment. Okay, even it's declining, but however, in terms of their employment rate, they still generate a pretty good employment rate compared to other economies. So the major problem is the service sector because we shifting toward more service-oriented. But however, we are not providing enough of a job opportunity. And that kind of job opportunity is not low skill type of job. It is the high skill of so-called modern service sectors. That kind of high skill job is not enough. Okay? And that causes this high unemployment rate, especially for the more educated workers. Okay? That's the one. So the high unemployment rate in Taiwan after the 90s is not due to the falling out of the industries in terms of employment rates or unemployment rate or in terms of productivity, as I mentioned. Actually, the more we invest in China, the higher the productivity of those IT-related industries. And the other thing is that manufacturing sector actually, the share is declining, but however, they keep employing a large share of workers in manufacturing. So apparently, it's not the hollowing out of the manufacturing. It is a phenomenon of deindustrialization only. Okay, that's the first message I want to tell you. And the second one is that the problem is in the service sector. Compared with our previous analysis, it's pretty clear. It's the service sector. And the problem is not because they does not hire enough labor. The problem is that they did not shift the structure towards more modern service sector, therefore generate more job opportunity for high-skilled workers. Okay, and this is the one question regarding about hollowing out. And the other one is regarding about crowding out. The crowding out of foreign direct investment of domestic investment. Okay, so the sluggish of the domestic investment is because of hollowing out effect due to not invest in Taiwan, instead invest in China. For invest in China, crowd out investment in Taiwan. That's another argument, right? Because we move a lot of foreign investment abroad, and the not when crowd out domestic investment. Okay? And here I try to answer this question. Between 86 to year 2000, gross domestic capital formation grew at average annual growth rate of 3%. Okay, so before year 2000, actually we have a tremendous growth in domestic fiscal capital. This is 10% as the highest number. But between 2001 and 2005, actually it dropped not only 2005 to extent to present. It dropped to minus 0.56. And for the manufacturing, actually it's remained 14%
8.5% in the former period, which is even greater than the average 10%. But after that, it's in the later period, the manufacturing sector fixed capital formation dropped at an annual rate of 0.72%. Okay, so obviously, before the year 2000, FDI of manufacturing industry does not drop out from domestic investment, right? Because the FDI already happened before year 2000. Actually, it started mid-1980s. And it was not until year 2000 that the domestic fixed capital investment dropped to a minus growth. Before year 2000, domestic fixed capital investment still at around 10%, and for the manufacturing, actually close to 15% growth rate of domestic fixed capital investment. Okay, so the problem is that the increase in our foreign direct investment, at least before year 2000, does not draw out domestic investment. And after year 2000, the still FDI and China surge. Investment amount rose to the case and this number and the 46,000 cases and domestic investment slowdowns. While FDI and domestic investment showed a positive movement before year 2000 and a negative movement after year. So it's not clear, right? Here is a positive correlation between year 2000 and actually foreign direct investment. Draw in, not draw out. Draw in domestic investment is a positive movement. But after year 2000, foreign direct investment draws out domestic investment because they have a negative movement. Right? And what happens? You have positive and negative, the positive area and the negative area. And what will be the reason for this? And the major reason is due to this international division of labor. Traditional industries in the early period of foreign direct investment focused on traditional industries has a short supply chain. And foreign investment allows domestic firms to utilize horizontal division of labor. Domestic firms produce high value added products, and foreign firms or subsidiaries produce low end products. So, okay, so you have different division of labor. And high-tech industry, on the other hand, has a long supply chain. And the foreign investment allows firms to utilize vertical integration, vertical division of labor. Upstream industry like R&D and key components produced in Taiwan, and then downstream industry like production and assembly in China. Thus, kind of international division of labor across the strait. Okay? And so in the early period that's fine, but after the mid-90s, once the implementation of 李登辉戒指用 no tax education policy, and then later after 2000 by the TPP, okay, party, no direct links, and prohibited direct flight into the international division of labor, and also restricted trade policies in this division of labor across the strait, which gradually resulted in complete falling out of high-tech industry. In what? In the later period after the year 2000, we have now less investment in Taiwan. Okay, it seems to have something in the later part, and the later part is after Li Denghui's restricted trade policy together with the DPP's restricted trade policy and hostile attitudes toward China. Okay, and last period actually with more restricted trade on China. Okay, and the last period after year 2000, especially after year 2000, that the increase in foreign direct investment actually crowds out domestic investment, not before year 2000. Okay, here, so that's the major conclusion drawn from here is that that is why it is so important at the current stage. We have to be thinking about the relationships. Okay, now we have a direct link, 3 direct links. Started last year, last October, right? And now we try to have a more normalization, more closer tie with China. And that would be a reverse trend, okay? And in this particular moment, we have to think about this. And I believe that at the very beginning of this class, I already give you some of the handouts I wrote on the local newspaper. Okay, and that will provide some of the arguments regarding about the current development of Taiwan's relationship with China. And I believe that is a turning point for Taiwanese economy. Okay, but it doesn't mean that if you have a closer tie, it will benefit or harm to the Taiwanese economy. It all depends. Okay, it doesn't mean that if you have a closer relationship, then you can develop this international division labor, then Taiwan will get better. It depends. Okay, it depends what kind of strategy you adopt. Because after these developments for the past 8 years, actually has a lot of opportunity has been lost. Okay, because a lot of firms moving to China, starting with their R&D, also moved to China. Okay, and China also developed this kind of industry clustering in for example, in the Yangtze Delta River, and also in the Bohai area, Bay Area. Okay, and they already developed their high-tech industry and clustering of these industries. And therefore, it's more difficult now for Taiwan to think about this kind of international division of labor. But still, it's very important at the current stage to have a normal trade relationship with China, and considering about what kind of industry that we should develop and remain in Taiwan, and what we should cooperate with China. And take that kind of opportunity to cooperate with China so that it generates a room for us to have a room to participate in the regional integration in Asia, to put into this so-called ASEAN Plus process, so that Taiwan can play a very important role in the regional integration development. Okay, and the last is a very important step for Taiwan, and we have to think it more clearly and adopt the right policy and strategies. And I believe that if Taiwan maintain a better trade and investment relationship with China, and then we can participate in the regional integration process, then we still can have a great trade, and that will enable Taiwan to make another miracle as before by increasing our productivity and with smooth transition in the economic structures. And as we just mentioned, we have a good manufacturing base. And now we should try to develop restructuring our service sector. And at the meantime, internationalize our economy by participating in the regional economic integration, so that we can have a better development. Because Taiwan is a small open economy, we have to rely heavily on the international market. Okay, so that is pretty critical. If Taiwan can cope with those challenges, I'm more optimistic. Okay, Taiwan will have a bright future. But at the current moment, it's very important. It's a critical stage for us. Okay,
because time is limited, and I will
of time, so we'll start here. And I'll give it to Lucy slide.
okay. Okay. Any questions?
I believe that's, and then you can forget about this title, please.
Okay. So I think that's all the major idea I want to
Explain and discuss.
Okay. Any further questions or comments before the class dismissed? Any questions? Okay. So that's all I want to say, and thank you for your participation in this class. And I hope that you learned something from the class. Okay. Thank you. Bye.